Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. All right, let's talk about this whole issue with the measles. Of course, pretty much it was eradicated more than 2 decades ago. Now we're seeing this dramatic response, about 600 cases every single, about 600 cases, more and more each week. You got folks declaring public health disaster. All of this because of these anti-vaccine people. And this is largely led by white folks, okay? Black folks are getting their kids immunized. And this whole fear against autism and things along those lines. And I mean, really, these people have no idea what they are doing to public health in America.
Roland, measles is one of the most contagious illnesses that there is. One person being exposed could lead to 90 people being infected. It's an airborne disease, and it's very serious if someone who's unvaccinated gets it. Children end up with serious complications if they're unvaccinated 5% of the time. That's a lot. And adults can have problems too if they run up against an infection and they have no immunity for it.
And the problem is you don't even know if somebody is vaccinated or not, and they're walking around, getting on planes, going to concerts, going to movies, and you have no idea.
Definitely, you have no idea. And the thing about getting measles is that you start being symptomatic 4 days before you get a rash. So can you imagine that, being around, everybody you're around, planes, trains, automobiles, shopping malls, whatever, and they could be incubating the illness. You don't know if they've had a vaccine and you've been exposed. And it's really dangerous for, babies and children who haven't received those 2 doses of measles vaccine.
Now, I thought it was mandatory. And so is it not mandatory, or is it simply recommended?
It is. For school-age children now, across the country, it is mandatory unless you have a religious objection. And states are really cracking down on even you documenting and saying you have a religious objection. And so, but still, for children, infants, those 2 vaccinations aren't given until 18 months of age. And so someone who's unvaccinated comes around an infant and toddler who hasn't been completely vaccinated yet, you're exposing them to an illness they don't have an immune system for. Very dangerous.
All right. Dr. Neeva Lubin Johnson, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you, Roland. Have a good evening and a good rest of the show.
All right, thanks a bunch. All right, folks, let's go to our panel here, talk about this craziness. Eugene Craig, CEO, Eugene Craig Organization. Also, we have Johanna LeBlanc, National Security and Foreign Affairs Legal Analyst, Robert Patillo, Civil Rights Attorney. White folks are causing this problem, Robert. Let's just cut to the chase, all right? This is a white folks thing.
Well, this is what happens when internet conspiracies go too far. We think the flat Earth people are, goofy and funny. We think that the Pizzagate people are a joke, but the anti-vaxxers are right along with that. People who reject medical science, who reject common sense. And this is how pandemics get started. When you bring a foreign disease into a population which has no natural immunity against it. So it's very important for us to spread public health and scientific knowledge, not simply internet conspiracy and rumors, because by doing so, you put the entire public at risk.
And look, I totally understand the concern, the parents who've had kids with autism. But the reality is, we still don't know what causes autism. You have these people who say, oh, it has to be the vaccine. Some have said that, look, their children were fine before they got vaccinated, then something happened afterwards. But they're putting other people's lives at risk with this. That's what's crazy to me. Anyone, y'all can jump in. Hey, anytime.
But the thing is this, we know it's irrefutable that vaccines save lives. We were looking at the eradication of measles, the eradication of polio, the eradication of a lot of diseases that are now making comebacks because people are being stupid and not getting their kids immunized.
But you got adults who are walking around.
Yeah.
Who all of a sudden go, damn, my parents didn't get me vaccinated.
And I think we need to figure out a solution to, vaccinate later in life. I mean, if you go to college and plan on living on campus, Like, they won't give you housing unless you have been vaccinated for things like measles. But it's a public health crisis. I know New York has declared a public health crisis, and a couple other cities are declaring public health crises. But it's a mess.
Just as my co-panelist indicated a few minutes ago, I think the skepticism that exists, it's okay to be skeptical, but as long as your skepticism is rooted from facts, from factual science to support it, right? And that's not the case here. It's just people who just don't believe that vaccination will solve any of their illnesses. And like you said, Roland, it's dangerous because these people are flying, they're going to concerts, they're going to movies, and they're sick, and it's very contagious.
You've got judges releasing an order saying, having a rule, ruling against cities that are saying, no, you can't go into public spaces. I mean, cities have to protect the public.
But then again, you also have the religious exemption, as Dr. Johnson indicated. So sometimes I understand that there are people, just because they don't want to take the vaccination, they would just claim the religious exemption. But is it truly, are they really not taking the vaccination because there's a religious purpose behind it, or just because they don't want to do it? That's the question.
You claim a religious exemption. I think I'm all for the First Amendment.
Absolutely.
And fully. But I think that's...
Well, it better be established that that's your religion.
There has to be some responsibility. If you claim religious exemption, and that's the actual practices and teachings of your religion, if there happens to be some kind of negative outcome from that affects and harms other people, then I think that particular church needs to cover the cost.
Robert?
Well, it's interesting, but because you'll really think that black folks will be leading the anti-vaxxer thing, going through the Tuskegee experience, going through all the stuff the government has done, dropping crack into our communities and everything else. You would think we'd be the people who are the anti-vaxxers, but on the court part of it, there's going to be something that bubbles up to the Supreme Court on to whether or not the United States government has the ability in the Constitution to mandate that people take a vaccine. Can the government mandate to inject something in your body that has not been decided by the Supreme Court yet? And that's what's going to be the dispositive voice on this.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.